Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Bill coming with another Tough Love Philosophy video. Today, this is a discussion that I had with a guy that I met on Facebook. His name is JoeP. We had a really good discussion. I really want to say thanks, Joe. Big shout out for, having a discussion and allowing me to share it publicly, because we did get into some pretty heavy personal stuff, and so he is willing to share that, and I really appreciate that. So big shout out to Joe. I appreciate it. I definitely want to apologize ahead of time for the audio. Audio balance is like the bane of my existence, but this microphone, I had it too close to me, not close, so the audio balance is really messed up, so I do apologize for that. I'm really loud, he's much more quiet, so that if that turns you off from watching it, I do apologize, and I understand that. And I do want to say too that I'm also going to go through and dissect this and kind of do a review of this discussion, kind of go back and revisit this discussion and kind of break it down and talk about it, kind of a post discussion kind of thing, and then get some ideas and some thoughts as to what we're talking about and why, and things like of that nature. But for now, this is just the discussion unedited that we had, and I just really appreciate you watching. Again, I appreciate you, Joe, for having this conversation. If you watch this, I really appreciate Joe. Really awesome. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything like that, my information is always down in the description. And please like, share, subscribe, comment, all of that stuff. And without further ado, let's run the intro and get into it, and I will see you later. Alright, cool. Yeah, it looks like everything is good. So we were talking on Facebook. If I remember right, it was like the meat of what we were talking about was like the legitimacy of the Bible. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, just the legitimacy of the Bible. Yeah.
Cool.
Because I still believe, I believe in a higher being, but just not the God that's talked about in the Bible, and just stuff like that. Because I grew up in the church. I was heavy in the church. I was part of the children's choir, the choir when I got older. I was in church heavy, growing up. Mainly because of my parents. But as I got older, and I actually started to read the Bible for myself, is when I started to see a lot of contradictions and a lot of, just different stuff that and when I saw certain things or read certain things, I would go and ask my preacher or other people of faith and that believed in the Bible per se, not just Christianity or religion, but just the Bible.
Right.
And one of my preachers, a preacher I grew up with, he actually told me, like, stop asking questions. This is what it is, and that's that. So, and it kind of led me to, excuse me, it kind of led me to actually figure out where the Bible actually came from, in the origins of the Bible, and and it led me down a whole different, path. Some people call it the spiritual journey, some people call it being woke. I don't call it any of that. I just call it being aware and actually figuring out your own truth. Instead of going behind what somebody else said is true or what they believe, I actually decided to go down my own path and figure out, truth for myself.
Like a self-awareness, kind of.
Yes. Which is why when we were talking at first, I would say, every once in a while, that's my truth. Because I don't want to put what I know or believe on no one else, because that's not what I am or what I do. When people engage in these conversations with me, then I tell them certain things, or you can look at this or you can look at that, but don't take my word for truth, or don't take my experience for truth. Still look into it for yourself, because if I'm doing that, then I'm doing what other religions and other people are doing. I'm forcing my beliefs on you. I'm not allowing you to go and figure out, your own truth and your own path.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sorry, I'm not good with the pleasantries and stuff, but like, you go by Joe, I take it? Is that
Yes.
okay?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah, I go by Bill. So yeah, and yeah, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you? I'm 30. I just turned 36 on the 3rd. If you don't, if you don't want to tell me, that's fine. But
Oh, happy belated birthday! But
thanks.
I'm 30. I turned 30. I turned 31 in November. So
Nice. Yeah, for me personally, just kind of my backstory. I grew up in church, but I grew up like going to church every Sunday, but not actually having any of that played out in the home. Like I grew up in a very like abusive kind of home, and like, so like we would go to church and I would get the message and all that, but then, it's like it didn't really have any validity. So when I got older, when I turned 18, I just, I hit my own stride and I just kind of shucked it all off, you know what I mean? And so I just recently just started like really pouring myself into it and like picked it up and like I love this song how he puts it. He said, I went from being a truth seeker to a truth speaker, right? So yeah, that's kind of my background where I'm at. And like, so I did want to like ask you, are you familiar with like the concept on what like teaching that you read, like you pray and ask God to lead you as you read the Bible, so you're not actually like doing it alone, you're not doing it just with your own interpretation, but you actually like ask God to help you, show you what kind of he means with the message being delivered?
hmm yeah, I used to pray all the time. Ask for guidance, ask for insight about things. I just pray, and the whole pray, believe, we shall receive. That stuff with because I grew up in somewhat the same thing as how you say you grew up with the church every day, every Sunday, and everything, and then abusive. When everything when you got home and everything. So I grew up the same way in a sense, but I went through a lot of dark times. When I was 22, I actually slipped my wrist when I was 22. I was comfortable with death. I became comfortable with it. I accepted it, and how they say, "Oh, suicide is it's the only sin that God can't forgive you of." But at that point in my life, I was comfortable. You know, because I felt like everything that I was going through and had been through as a child, I would never get answers, or I would never get, you know, help. Just so at that point in time, man, I just said, you know what, I'm done. It seems like the God that I pray to and the God that I believe in hasn't answered. And excuse me. And when I slit my wrist that night, it was the darkest night on in the area I lived in, except for one street light. But the street light that was on at the time was the main one that never worked. And I sat under that street light, and a friend came out. One of my friends came out of nowhere. He had my car. He came out of nowhere and picked me up, took me to the hospital. But I had an out of body experience. People say they seen God or they seen, you know,
Taken up to heaven or something.
Huh?
Oh, I was sorry. I was just saying, like getting taken up to heaven or getting taken to hell or something.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I saw something. Totally different. What I saw was nothing. And I struggled with understanding why I saw nothing, because I saw nothing, but I understood what I saw, but I didn't know how to explain what I saw and what I was seeing until I actually started, digging deeper into myself and figuring out what it was that I saw. And what I saw was, how they say nothing is people. The first thing to understanding everything is understanding that nothing is something and something is nothing. And when I tell people that, people look at me like I'm crazy, like that's dumb, because nothing can't be something. Until I ask them, okay, well, what draws the line between nothing and something? Where's the border for nothing and something? There is no border. There's nothing. So what's nothing? Nothing is something. So, man,
Yeah, like I get what you said. Like there's no such thing as actual true nothingness, because once there is something, there cannot ever be nothing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I love talking to people like like-minded people like you, people who are open to hearing and learning. Because like I don't denounce religion. I don't denounce Jesus or God or anything like that. It just my
Yeah.
my walk doesn't include from that area. But it's like and I love when you said small stuff sticking with me. But I love when you said that it doesn't matter how you get there as long as you get there.
Yeah.
As long as you get there, my road isn't the same as your road. Your road isn't the same as my road, or the next person that you may meet, 20 minutes from now.
Yeah. But I would clarify and just make sure to clarify, like, my there is Christ, the cross, right? That's my there, because that's, like John 14:6, like, I am the way, the truth, the light. So yeah, exactly. Like, all of our paths are different to get there, but yeah, we all need, like, end up there is kind of excuse me, is kind of, the hope.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like I said, man, I love talking to different people. I love getting different insights and different viewpoints, because I feel like for me, my path is to learn as much as I can and spread what I can without forcing what I believe on people. Just like my whole goal is to allow people, is to tell people, don't be conditioned to one thing. Allow yourself to learn anything. If you want to go and study, Buddhism or whatever, then go do it. Just go do it. If it doesn't fit you, then it just doesn't fit you. But there's nothing wrong with figuring out your niche. There's nothing wrong with figuring out your life path of what you want to do. So because I'm at the point right now where I'm actually learning about Buddhism. I'm digging deep into Buddhism. So it's pretty fun. They have some pretty cool people.
Yeah. So I think kind of what I'm picking up on is kind of like knowledge, like a pursuit of knowledge. That's kind of what you're kind of centered around, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. That's my goal, to just attain as much knowledge as I can. I don't want to be confined to one thing.
Yeah. So what do you do with that though? Like, what is the end goal?
Well, like I said, my end goal is to pass it on.
So just like get as much as you can and like pass it on. Sorry.
Huh?
Sorry, I was just saying, kind of get as much as you can and pass it on.
Yeah. But like I said, I don't want to. I'm not gonna be one of those people who push. What? This is my way. This is my way. This is my way. I'm tell people, like I said, when people come to me now. One of my friends come to me now and be like, hey, well, what does this mean? What does that mean? Because right now we're actually dissecting the whole resurrection story, and he said it didn't make sense. So I actually read it myself, and I was like, oh, that's crazy. What I'm reading. What I'm reading is what the stuff that I'm reading is not what was taught. Only certain parts were taught throughout, church and growing up. So. Like I said, it's just knowledge. And when people come to me and ask me about certain things, I tell them, like, hey, if I don't know it, I don't know it, but you can figure it out together. And if I do know it, I tell them what I know, but I will still tell them, well, go research more for yourself. Go figure out more for yourself.
Yeah. So I got a couple questions for you. So first, like, what is the difference to you between knowledge and wisdom?
Knowledge is, you can know anything you want. Knowledge is knowing things, and wisdom is putting things into play, putting it into work. If you can know anything, but if you don't actually put it in work behind that knowing, then you won't learn. Wisdom is knowing things, putting it into play, and then learning from it. That's my take on it.
So in order to be wise, if you were, like you were saying, like pursuing Buddhism, and you were gathering the knowledge of Buddhism, in order to actually truly be wise, you would have to put it into practice and live your life according to it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
And so does that apply to anything else, or?
Oh, that's with anything. That's with anything in life. You have to apply yourself. You have to apply the thing that you're learning, or the thing that you know, into actual life, into whatever you're doing.
Do you know much about street gangs?
Unfortunately, yes.
You live that life?
Yes.
Oh, okay. not trying to like put you on blast. I'm just like I said, trying to like I grew up in that stuff. I never claimed like I was kind of the only white kid where I grew up, and so I was just kind of always the outsider. I'd kind of bounce around here and there, but I never like actually claimed anything or got into it. But I grew up around it and stuff. So yeah, I was kind of wondering, just like I said, just to know where you're at, and you don't have to share anything if you don't want, but yeah. So so like knowledge and so then what to you is like the definition of knowledge? Like what is it to actually know something?
Okay, so to actually know.
Sorry, I'm a philosopher, so I kind of get really technical and deep on this stuff.
No, you good. I like these type of conversations. Okay, so to me, actual not understanding knowledge. The definition of knowledge to me is that's a good one.
And just to like, so I'm not like setting you up or like making this like weird or anything. I'll give you my definition that I operate with. It's kind of the contemporary view, is justified true belief.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's like a belief, something that you hold to, a belief that you can justify to be the truth, right? To be true.
Yes, that's somewhat how I look at what knowing is. Yeah, it's something that you can actually, you can actually prove it to be true. It's further than a belief, because a belief is just something that you believe. You don't know if it's true or not. You just believe that it's true, or you believe that it's real, or you believe that it can happen. But knowing something is actually you know that it's true. You know that it is happening. That it can happen.
Yeah, for sure. So, and then real quick, I just want to share like with a Bible verse real quick with this. Where is it? Yeah, sorry. Where did it go? Oh, where there is no revelation or like vision, like vision of the future, right? Kind of like where you see yourself in 5 years or something like that, right? Where there's no revelation, the people cast off restraint, but happy is he who keeps the law. So like to me, like when I read this, what it's telling me is that those who cast off, like those who don't have a vision, like they don't have something that they see in their future that they're working toward, they cast off restraint, right? They cast off authority. They just like have no authority. They just, God, whoever, they just, say F you to authority, basically go their own way and start following their own path, right? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of, that's where I was. That's where I see most people that aren't in the faith. Do you think you would kind of relate with that? Do you think that you have any kind of final authority over you, or do you think that you kind of are your own final authority?
Honestly, this is where I lose a lot of people at. I believe that I am a part of that higher authority in a sense. Like the higher authority is one. I call it the oneness. It's one. And we are all a part of that oneness. So and it's yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm not saying that I am God. I mean, the Bible tells you that you are God. Jesus Himself said that you are God. But I don't like to say that I am God, but I am a huge part of that oneness, along with everybody else. So I mean, I'm not. I mean, I was lost at one point in time, but now I feel like I'm on the right path to knowing what I need to know, and that's. I am everything that exists. I am a part of everything that exists. Everything that exists is a part of me. And it's there's a lot of stuff that actually I can say it can prove it, but it's just crazy how it all works out. How certain things work out.
Yeah, for sure. So then, I don't know if you understand this, but this reference, who watches the watchman?
Who watches it? I don't know.
So I don't know if you get where I'm going with that, but if you are part of this collective authority, then who does that collective authority answer to?
Nobody. There's no. in my truth, there's no set ruler, there's no set profound person or a deity or God that actually rules it all or overwatches all. It just there's like when I said the notion that there's nothing, then that's what I'm getting. There's nothing. Like I am a part of that. There's once you die, once we die, then we go back into that that aspect of just being everything. It's vast. So I don't really believe that there's no, who watches the Watchman thing. I just feel like we're all we're all a part of everything. There's no
So no one in that is corrupt, or it doesn't matter if anyone in that is corrupt.
I mean, yeah, it is corrupt. It is corrupt because there becomes balance. That's what balance is. That's what duality comes into play. There is a balance. There is a good and there is an evil. Which is why one of the questions I battle with, and I asked many of ministers or preachers or whatever, or religious people, why didn't God just kill the devil? Why didn't God just kill Satan? And then, I answer because God doesn't kill, He doesn't destroy. I mean, that's true. We can take the notion, but there's many things that He did to destroy cities. He destroyed a lot of things. He killed a lot of people. He allowed a lot of bad stuff to happen to people. So when you say that, the corrupt, there's a balance. There has to be a balance. So yes, there are corrupt people or corrupt essence, or I guess you could say not essence, but it's all just one. I mean, there's no way to divide it. It's one. When you do divide it, when people do try to divide that's when you get the corrupt, the good, the bad. But it's just oneness, nothingness. There's no sense of good or bad. It's just that which is.
So it doesn't really matter in the end.
Yeah, because I don't believe in heaven. I don't believe in heaven or hell. Heaven. I feel like the hell that portrayed is the earth. It's what we're living now. We experience pain. We experience all these emotions. We experience all these bad things, all these good things. And then we die. You know, which goes back to what energy is. Energy cannot be destroyed or created, and our souls are just energy. It cannot be created or destroyed. We just go into a different form of being.
Yeah, gotcha. So, I would just to give like a brief kind of like elevator speech on my like view on that, like that you brought up is, why wouldn't God just kill the devil or whatever? So, like, excuse me, a couple things. If God just like created autonomous people or beings that just followed him with no free will, that they just had to follow him with no choice, then it wouldn't be anywhere near as glorious and awe-inspiring as if those people had a choice, those beings had a choice, and they chose to follow God and the goodness of God, right? And then the message, like the big kind of picture I see of, the answer to that question is because of God. As a philosopher, philosophy is kind of the art and kind of a research and science of arguments. And so in an argument, you make a claim, and when you make a claim, then you need to provide evidence to back it up. Right. So if God makes the claim that sin is bad, disobedience is bad, taking your eyes off of me is bad, then if one were to ask him, well, what is your evidence? How do you back this up? Then God now has this to point to and say, this is what sin can do, right? And so him sending his son, that's kind of like rescue operation, and kind of, it's kind of just this is what it took to save the portion that actually would still follow me given the choice to do so.
Right. And I get that point, and like I said, it was just certain things that I've also read that kind of like contradicted itself. I mean, but I understand how people would defend it and could defend it. It could mean this, it could mean that. But I mean, like, I don't, mm, I don't shun people or not talk to people who actually believe in that God or the Bible and everything. You know, I actually love talking to them because maybe they can give me a certain like what you're doing, like they can give me a certain reference or a certain viewpoint on something that I've read or or that I believe, and they can help me out. Well, this could mean this or it could mean that, But I believe that the Bible is it's just a parable. It's just a book of parables. There is some truth to it, but there is a whole bunch of contradictions in it as well. So
Yeah.
I just think that people should, seeing that, and it's crazy because the Bible says do not add nor take away, yet the Bible has been rewritten hundreds of times. There are the four great unsealed codices, the Abagaramba text. There are a bunch of different Bible versions.
More versions of the Christian Bible and more denominations of Christianity than of any other religion in the world.
Yes, and
which would make sense if you have like a being that's supernatural that's trying to distort and make sure that one doesn't prosper, that one doesn't flourish. But
I mean, I can see that point too. But for me, like I said, it led me down. When I started reading the Bible, I started reading it for it's my own understanding, not what somebody else said. It led me to the Greeks, the Romans. The great Council of Nicaea and how they wrote the Bible, how they did that and third, how Christianity is one of the youngest religions, but speaks about the creation of the world. And for me, I love visual evidence. I love stuff that I can see, touch, hear, taste, feel, and everything. So my biggest thing was how can they have, even when I found Christianity, I went to the Muslims. They tried to, want to be a nation of Islam and all that stuff too. And I ended up decoding that and figuring out what that was too. But it was just the fact that, we have all these ancient artifacts of Mesopotamian eras, the ancient Kemetic era, people know as Egyptian now, but the ancient Kemetic era, all the different dynasties. But we have nothing to prove Christianity. The Bible says God created heaven and earth, and everything that in the dominion of it. Yet dinosaur bones are millions of years old. But Christianity claims the creation of the world and its entirety.
There's actually, if you look into it, there's William Lane Craig he's now switching over to the study of evolution and creation, and he's the forerunner of the Christian philosophy world. Like, he's the one that solidified the Kalam argument, the existence of God, and basically showed that it's a perfectly reasonable argument to show that God exists. And now he's switching over to show how evolution does actually fit into the creation story of the Bible, because it's all allegorical language, right? Like, I was actually a creationist, and I was like that hard line, like, oh, you have to believe in, young earth creation. Now I'm like, I don't know which one to believe, and where I'm at, like, to me, it doesn't matter, because if God was so adamant about it, he would have talked more about it. He would have made more references. He would have spoke more about it, given us more to go on about it. So, I mean, it's perfectly reasonable to me that the earth could be that billions of years old or whatever, and then, however God did time and created, and then the important part is the imago Dei, right? The image of God being breathed into man, and that man being formed right then, and him breathing that man to life. So it's perfectly reasonable that he would have created another man that was also like the one that was evolving through the system of evolution through the animal kingdom, right? Which the Bible actually makes many references to beasts when it's talking about men, which, there could be men who are evolved from, apes, and then men who are actually created by God, and then, being descended down, right? There's lots of views on that too.
I mean, like I said, I feel like it's just so much more, and it's just so much more into it than what's actually taught, taught and learned, and I don't know. I don't know. I just.
Honestly, bro, I'm gonna be straight up with you. Just sorry to interrupt, but I'm just gonna tell you real quick. I forgot to leave. I left this out. I was gonna say is that honestly, I was kind of in the same place that you are, you know, just not even that long ago. Like, but then I like kind of got to this point where I was like, oh, I want to start doing YouTube and I want to start doing podcasts. And I was like, you know, people don't actually know the real like Bible, the real Christ, you know. And I was like, people don't. And then like I stopped and I was like, I don't even know it, you know. And I started like I just started pouring myself into research. I was like, well, let's see, you know. And like, so that's kind of like where I'm at. That's why I really relate with you because I was like in that same kind of boat. I was kind of like in that same place, you know.
And I actually prefer this place I'm at now because, like I said, it allows me to learn anything I want to learn. You know, like I said, today if I want to study, you know, a different religion, I can. You know, but if you go into a church and say, "Oh, I'm afraid to leave the church and go study this, that, and the third," you're going to get shown that the church is they're going to 9 times out of 10 they're going to look down upon you, talk to you crazy, or make you feel, oh, you can't keep from the death from God, and you can't do this because God wants, you know. And I feel like, you know, as growing up in a Christian household, I know there's so many contradictions and lies, you know, just like, you know, whatever. So as I actually got older, I decided to, you know, I'm gonna, you know, do my own thing in Christianity and learn more about Christianity and everything. But like I said, for me, it just nothing ever stuck. You know, nothing ever made sense to me. You know, I was always a rebellious child. I always asked questions. I always wanted to know why. You know, and he's in prison. You should ask those questions. For what? Why should I ask those questions? If I want to learn, you know, lean back towards your own understanding. So I can't lean toward my own understanding. I have to lean toward evolution. That's to me. That's keeping people in a small, you know, mundane mindset. You know, believe this and that's it. When you start thinking for yourself, then you're going against Christ. You're going against God. And all that stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, God even in the Bible, like challenges or like invites you to, like he says in Isaiah 118, come reason with me, right? Like
Yeah.
that's like that like hit heavy with me because I'm like a person, you know, I'm a philosopher kind of minded person. Like I'm very like into reasoning, so it was like that like hit me. You know, God is saying like, come challenge me, like think critically, like bring it, you know.
And
So that bothers me when people say, oh, you shouldn't even ask those questions, you know.
yeah. Which is why I say the Bible it has a lot of country. It holds a lot of esoteric truth and knowledge to it and allegories into it. You know, like I say, I tell everybody, read the Bible for your own understanding. Read it so that you can figure out what you need to do with your life and how you're going to operate in life. See you in the morning.
Yeah, and
I mean,
well, no, I was just gonna say, like, just to contrast that, the Bible, like Paul in I think it was Ephesians, or maybe it was Romans, but he actually says the opposite. He says, like, don't read it for your own understanding. Like look, you can't understand it with your own understanding. You need spiritual help. You need spiritual eyes. You need to read it spiritually in order to understand it, and only God can help you to understand it because it's His words, it's His meaning. Right?
yeah, I mean, I understand all that stuff as well. You know, but I found more truth going outside of the Bible, even Christianity, being more of a person who you know, somebody's a preacher or this other person telling me this or telling me that. I learned so much more now, and I can decipher so much more now. So, like I said, with the story of Jesus Christ being crucified on the cross, um, I never this part, but even he himself says he never died on the cross. You know, and people actually read the whole chapter of his resurrection, well, of him dying on the cross and everything, him going to be crucified. If people read the whole thing, they'd be looking at it like, wait a minute. If Jesus died on the cross, why are herbalists and healers going to his tomb? They're herbalists and healers, and everybody know what herbs do. Herbs and healers, you heal through herbs. You are healed by the earth and herbs, you know. So I started reading that, and I started like, hey. And then later on, I think he was talking to Thomas. I think he was talking to Thomas. How Thomas said that when Jesus approached him, Thomas was scared. And Jesus basically asked him, why are you scared? It's me. And he's like, I thought you were dead. He's like, no. He said, it's a spirit made of flesh and bones. And he's like, no. And he said, come touch me. And when Thomas went to touch him, he was made of flesh and bone. And he told Thomas, now let's eat. But he was hungry. From my interpretation, he wasn't dead. And he even told Mary the same thing. Go and tell my people, I have ascended unto my Father, even though I have not yet ascended. But we're taught that Jesus died on the cross for our sins. When he tells you himself, he never died on the cross. I mean, now after the resurrection, he just disappeared after that. After a few books, he disappeared after that. But when you actually read it, Jesus never died.
Yeah, so one with the tradition, like in their culture, especially with like a religious leader, like when they died, it was very much tradition for them to take, herbs and even for healers to go and try it. It's kind of like, it's a sorrow, they're mourning, they're like, taking they're making the body as nice as possible, kind of, it's like a ritual, right? And then of course they have healers going there, putting these healing herbs on them, because it's kind of like if there's any way to bring them back kind of thing, right? And then like with him talking to Thomas, I would just say right there, you would have to kind of think deeper and like explore like the difference between the hunger and appetite, right? Like you can't say that he was hungry. You don't know that he was hungry. You can say that he had an appetite. And the Bible is very consistent with us being in heaven and eating, having a feast, right? So food is good. Food's good to eat. And there's nothing, wrong with enjoying food. Like food was given to us for us to enjoy. And so we have an appetite, but there's a difference between appetite and hunger. Hunger means you need to eat. You have to sustain yourself. You can't say that he was hungry, that he had to eat, right?
What I'm saying, he told Thomas, let's eat. And they sat and ate. They sat down and ate. So that's of the physical. If there's no way you can not make that have the sense of being a physical sense. Like, I'm hungry now. Like, is a spirit in the flesh and bones? No. Well, that's exactly. So let's eat. So let's eat now, because I'm here. But I mean that's that. But
yeah, and I would say the message I get from that is when we're resurrected, we're getting another physical body. Like, I mean, if you look at the human body, it is a miraculous operating system, right? Like we're trying still to completely emulate it. Like it is irreducibly complex system upon irreducibly complex system upon irreducibly complex system, that all, like, it's an irreducibly complex system of irreducibly complex systems, right? Like the human body is great, and like Paul tells us that we're going to get something even better. So I mean, it makes sense that we would get this same body, but then have it fully, like, we wouldn't have to do anything with our health and nutrition. Like, it's just put into like prime condition for eternity, right? Like, that makes sense to me. And then, it says in there that Jesus is going to have the scars on his physical body, so we always remember what he did.
And that's another way of how I look at it too. When I look at it as a spiritual journey, it's spiritually awakening. And because when I started my spiritual journey and I started my spiritual awakening, I actually started truth seeking, people looked at me different. Like, you're not the same Joseph I know. You're not the same person. You're not the same person I know. You making all these jokes and being funny, now you're serious and talking about all type of crazy stuff, and even the Bible says when Mary went to the tomb, when she saw Jesus, she didn't recognize him. He disguised as a gardener. And even then, I look at myself and people, when I started my journey, people like, bro, you look different, bro. You look different now. Like, you all right? I'm like, yeah, like, it's me. I'm still me. Well, you don't know, you carry yourself different. You look different, and just from my knowledge and me seeking truth and everything, me seeking my truth, I seen that certain stuff was also a depiction of something else. Like, when I started my journey, it took me to, Egypt, ancient Kemet, the motherland, how, Egypt is the birthplace of the world and everything else. And when I started digging deep into the Dometic Knowledge, I saw that basically, for me, the story of God and Jesus is just a depiction of the sun in the sky. When a sun raises, when the sun rises, over water, it walks across. They say the sun walking across the water, you know, and that's what they this Jesus, the Son, is the Son of God, He walks across the water. When you look at that, the sun walks across the water, you know, and then the whole winter solstice thing, it dies on the cross, you know, the actual cross of the planetary system stuff you talk about and all that other astrology and astronomy stuff. When he died, the sun dies on the cross for 3 days, it rises, it moves again. And the ancient civilizations actually depicted this and saw this and recorded it. So for me, I just stopped believing so much of all the other rhetoric stuff when there was so much more that could be actually proved and actually talked about, and actually we still have proof. Like there have been multiple companies who've tried to recreate the pyramid, and they can't. Nobody can reconstruct the pyramids. You know, we're steady unearthing ancient civilizational stuff and history and everything, you know, but there's no proof of Christianity. There's no proof of the Nation of Islam. There's no proof of none of these things that so-called happen within the Bible, the Torah, the Tanakh, you know, and all these other religions. Besides Buddhism, you know, Buddhism, there are true light. They're true light seekers. There are true people. You don't hear about them in wars. You don't hear about them killing people like Christianity did, and Nation of Islam, how they slaughtered millions and thousands of people in the name of God or the name of Allah. You know, so it's just certain things that always stood out to me that made me question everything. So as I question everything, I wanted to learn more, not to be, you know, most people are assholes when they come across certain out, you know, well, it said this or it said that, you know. But me, I actually like to learn different, you know, aspects of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So I would like, I don't know if you've ever heard this before, but there's a difference between Christianity and like the true message of Jesus. Like Christianity, is kind of like a religion, or, you know, like what people, you know, outside of the faith really like kind of look at. And there's, you know, a lot of people in Christianity, it's like you have this set of rules that you follow and you do these things and you have to believe these certain things, where like the truth that Jesus like brought and the true message of the Bible, like we have this saying, like the New Testament reveals what the Old Testament conceals, the Old Testament conceals what the New Testament reveals, you know, like God like had a veil over the New Testament or the Old Testament times, and then the New Testament, the message in the New Testament like lifted that veil to show that this, you know, this entire story has been kind of in the works since the beginning of mankind, right? And so I forgot kind of where I was going with that, but the different, like, so basically what Jesus was kind of saying, like with a kingdom, is that there's a kingdom, right, that he is the king of, and he is the ultimate authority, he is the king of kings. And like kind of what I was kind of getting at with that Proverbs, to circle back, is it's an authority thing, right? Like I was saying before, you really have no authority over you. Like you were saying, you're free to just explore what you want. Like you don't have any loyalty to anything or anybody but yourself. And so like you said, you're free to go and just to discover, explore, find what you want and what you think fits you the best. Whereas like the message of the gospel, the kingdom, is that God created us to be subjects to him, to follow him, to keep our eyes on him. Like when Adam and Eve, like when they that first sin was taking their trust out of God, them focusing on the knowledge of good and evil, whereas God is saying, you don't need to worry about that stuff. I have authority over that. You just need to pay attention to me. Like if you think about, I don't know if you have kids or, but like it's like a father kind of view. Like, hey, don't worry about what's going on out there. Just pay attention to me. Focus on me, right? So I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but that kind of like was on my heart to say after what you were saying there, because it's kind of like a lot of people kind of just kind of have this blanket view of Christianity, right? Like the Crusades and Catholicism. Like I am a complete Protestant. Like I separate myself from all of that, right? I don't consider any of that to be Christ-like, right? That's not Christ-like. That's not anything to do with the message of Christ at all.
Right. And I agree, but like I said, a lot of people can't even say that. A lot of people can't even say, when you start talking about what happened with, so why did they kill thousands? Well, that's just, maybe there were evil people or bad people. You're the first person I talked to that, gave a hope that actually say something different. Well, I don't account for that stuff because that's and I agree, that's not Christ-like. But for me, like I said, in certain things I found, they actually found these letters on tombs of ancient Egypt and the Sumerian tombs and all this stuff of people saying, well, I don't know how per se it was written per se in context, but they called it becoming Christ, Krst. When a person became Christ, they became enlightened. They became of one. They became one with the divine oneness. So I mean, like I said, we're all. I agree. We're all there. We have free will to do whatever we want, to do whatever we please to do. But so as long as you, like I said, as long as you get there, you get there. No matter what road you say, what path you take, as long as you get, if you feel like that's your truth, then that's your truth. Because that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
There's no saying, what you should live by. I mean, it's like my favorite comedian said. He said, you don't need a book to tell you what's right and wrong. You know.
Exactly.
In that knowledge. Huh?
Oh, I was just being a yes man. Sorry, I was hyping you.
But he said, you don't need a book to tell you what's right and wrong. You're born with that. You're born with that knowledge to know I shouldn't kill him. I shouldn't steal.
It's like I fully believe if I never got my hands on this in my entire life, this Bible, if I never got my hands on it, at some point in my life, I would, come around to where I'm at now. Like I fully believe that. There's no need to have the book. Like it's in my heart, and like and that only makes sense if there is a God, right? That is outside of our comprehension that can affect us.
Yeah, that's true. And I can say for me, what I've done was I've done psychedelics. I've done psychedelic drugs. That's not a drug. It's of the earth. It's a plant. I've done one of the highest forms of psychedelics, which is called DMT. It comes from the ayahuasca plant. It comes from the root of the plant. And once I've done, I struggle with depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, all that type of stuff. But once I started, my journey and everything, and I actually saw a glimpse of what is, I'm no longer aware. I mean, I still battle certain things a little bit, but the troubles and the problems that I had, they're not as heavy anymore because now I know what is. And and like I said, for me, there's nothing beyond this. Like this life is just another way of us experiencing living. We don't know that we are it. So I said, it's just a lot of people look down on psychedelic drugs, talk down about them, but there's a reason why they talk down about it. There's a reason why they're illegal now because they actually help you. They know, not per se numb, but they help you realize that this world is just about this existence is so minute to the bigger picture. So when you see people on psychedelic drugs, look at the people. The government did an experiment. They did a whole experiment on
MK Ultra.
Yeah, and when they done it, they saw they were afraid to think, oh shit, we can't control these people anymore because now we can't control them with fear anymore because they don't care. And that's
The psychonauts.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what religion installs a sense of fear in a sense, to make you conform to. So like once I fell out of religion altogether, I no longer had that oh, I'm gonna go to hell, or I'm gonna get persecuted and burned forever in the fiery pits of hell, because this is like you're living hell, you're living in hell to me, because like I said, you go through all these trials and tribulations, you go through pain, you experience all of these raw emotions, you know. So when you die, you don't feel anything anymore, because you're back to the creator. You're back to you.
Yeah, so I was gonna like kind of get back around to that. So yeah, so ultimately we're kind of getting back to the knowledge, the justified true belief, and then ultimately justification and truth. And you're saying like a lot like my truth, right? You're saying, oh, my truth. So I believe in my truths. Like I'll tell you what I believe in my truth is. Like my truth is my stepdad would come in and hit me when nobody was looking, right? That's a my truth, right? Nobody else outside of me and my stepdad and God know that whether or not that's true. So that's my truth, right? But I think like what you're doing is you're kind of taking an objective, a universal, and you're saying this is my truth, right? Because what you're saying is universal. It's applying to more than just yourself. So we're running into that problem of authority, justification, truth. Like what really is truth, and how do you actually justify? Like there's a difference between internal justification and external justification. Like internal justification, I can do that with what I have internally, and then I justify it internally, and then nobody else, it doesn't matter what anybody says, like I justified that internally, it's true to me, which is good for you. But then once you start speaking outside of yourself objectively, then you have to externally justify and show that that is externally justifiable and objectively true. So you're saying, you're making like some objective truth claims, like after this life there is just nothingness. Like how do you back that up objectively?
Because you can create nothing. Through nothing you can create something. So when I say that is when I go through this process of people, I'm going nothing, the creation of anything and everything. They said like I can do that. I said, okay, well close your eyes. That person closed their eyes and said, it's complete darkness, right? There's nothing there. Right? They're like, yeah. I said, create anything you want to. And so okay, I created an animal. Okay, what animal you create? Or I created a moose. Okay, now give that moose a dog ear. Give that moose a cat's tail and web feet. Did you do it? Yeah, I did it. Okay, you just created something that's in your mind. Now, you created that from nothing. You created that from literally nothing. Just a thought.
Subjectively.
Yeah.
Not objectively. You haven't objectively created anything. You haven't created anything in objective reality. You just created subjectively.
But subjectively, that's where everything lies. Well, for certain things outside this paradigm, the real, quote unquote, the real world is this paradigm. So, but like you said, truth. There's absolute truth and there's relative truth. So absolute truth is what happened to you as what happened to you, what happened to me as a kid. That's relative truth. It happened to be relative. It's a form of absolute truth because only I know it to be absolutely true. Other people don't know that absolutely true, just relative. So that goes back to trying to explain to them, like, oh, can you show that, your dad hit you, or this woman, in my case, I was sexually assaulted by a woman about something, or molested, whatever, by a woman. I can't literally prove that to anybody because, for one, I don't know if they're going to be dead or not, so that it's my absolute truth. But in this paradigm, it's a relative truth. So when people say the term truth is simply that. There's no, truth is a broad aspect of things, because I can go outside and look at the sky and say it's blue. That's my absolute truth. You can go outside and say it's purple. That's your absolute truth. But it's all relative to what you see. Or everybody around you see it as blue, but you see it as purple. Who's wrong?
So what or who intercedes? Because there has to be an objective truth, right? Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, there has to be. But talking same way. I think we have somewhat the same thought process.
And I would just challenge you, sorry, real quick, I would just challenge you with what you're saying now. Earlier you said that you kind of are that authority, right? So basically if we apply that to this, what you're saying basically is if you look up and see the sky is blue and that's truth to you, and I look up and see the sky is blue and that's truth, or purple and that's truth to me, ultimately you're the one with the authority, so the sky would actually be blue to you because you're the one with the authority, right?
Yeah, unless I can see it from a perspective, which I can't, because reality is just a bunch of different perspectives. I can't see, if you're colorblind, I can't see from that perspective. I can only believe what you're telling me that you know. And you know that the sky is purple because that's what you see, that's what you've been, that's how you grew up looking at the sky. The sky has always been, I know the sky is purple because that's my direct experience, you know? So, and a lot of time, which is why I harp on my, because a lot of people try to put their experience, their life, their raw emotions, their consequences and choices onto another person trying to explain to them something. You know, so that's why I say, when I talk to people, I say, this is my truth. You know, what I tell you is what I know. You know, and that's what it all matters. That's what it all boils down to. Whatever you choose to be true, that's what it is. You know, and nobody can take that authority from you. Only you can relinquish that authority to people. You can relinquish that right to people. But if you hold firm to what you believe in and what you know to be true, that's all that matters. You know, people gonna look at you and call you hypocrite or like they might call you crazy or psycho or any of that stuff. You know, once I started meditating, going within myself, understanding myself, I've gotten way more things than I have ever gotten praying about it. You know, I no longer worry about the things that doesn't, like, when small shit happens in my life, or I'm riding down the road to have a flat tire, people most people mindset is to instantly get mad at first and start cursing and going crazy. I look at it like, oh well, that could have been that. That could have just saved from a major accident. I could have had that on my life. So, you know, so it's all about how you look at your life. You know, I've had many Christians, many Islamic people come and try to tell me, well, your way of thinking is wrong, and you're going to hell, and you're gonna suffer or whatever. Okay, if that's the truth, then so be it. I'm not gonna relinquish my rights, my authority to my free will to you because of what you believe or what you think is your truth, and that's okay.
Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from. So I would just gently challenge you and just ask you, is that true?
Hello?
Oh, hey, sorry.
Yeah, you cut out voice.
Oh, sorry. So, like, in reference, you were saying, like, because you like talk about like you and like with your view and stuff, but then you kind of have a tendency to kind of then like kind of go external with no external justification, saying like, oh, life is about this, life is about doing this. Like you're externally justifying, but you're not like actually like giving any real external justification for saying that or for applying that to anybody outside of yourself. Like I would challenge you and just say like that may be true for you, that may work for you, but like how do you then go outside yourself and make that truth claim outside yourself and apply that to me or anybody else?
As far as what?
Like the meaning of life and what happens to you when you die.
Oh, life is what you make it. Life is simply what you make it.
But so right there, sorry, real quick, right there. Life is what you make of it. So you're making a truth statement. Like you believe that to be true, don't you?
Yeah.
So what is your justification for that? Outside of yourself, because you're saying life, you're not just talking about your life, right? You're talking about life in general, like universally, right?
Yeah, life is what you make it. I can't give you a purpose. I can't tell you. When I say life is what you make it, I can't tell you, hey, I can say, hey, your life is what you make it, but I can't go outside of me and tell you you need to go be a billionaire tomorrow. I can't do that.
But you can't even, real quick, you can't even logically tell me what you're telling me then, though, right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's Life is what you make. If you want to be a millionaire, put in work to be a millionaire. If you want to be a successful bodybuilder, go and put in that work to be a successful bodybuilder. If you want to go out and be the best mechanic in the world or the best doctor in the world, go and do that.
So you're saying that I can do those things?
You can do that. Yeah, you can.
So where do you get, like, how do you know that, like, justified true belief? How do you justifiably, like, how is this justifiable true for you to believe?
Because when I stopped crying and sobbing over what happened to me and decided to go be happy and make my life a happy life, I made it a happy life. I'm no longer worried about what happened to me. I'm no longer worried about how I treat women because I decided to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to make my life happy. I'm not going to allow myself to go and be miserable off of what happened to me as a kid or whatever. And I'm going to be happy now. And that's what it was. I decided to be happy. I made my life what it was.
So it's you.
My life what it is.
So you are your justification.
I made that distinct choice. Yeah, I made
you and your own personal experiences and like how you've overcome and what you've done and everything that you've gone through and where you are now, that's your justification for telling others what life is about and how they, you know, like what they, you know, the meaning of life, or that they need to find the meaning of life.
And that's where people try to make it more than what it is. When a person says life is what you make, there's no profound thought process behind it. There's no big picture behind it. It's just as simple as that.
But you can't just say that, because that's not true, because what you're saying you believe to be true and you're applying it to someone outside of yourself. So that is profound in itself, because you're making a knowledge claim on somebody else's reality, right?
But I don't know. No. I'm not, when I say life is what you make it, I'm not telling you to make life what I want you to make life to be. I'm just telling you to make life what you want it to be. And many people are living that life now. A lot of younger people are now falling out of religion and all these other social paradigms, and they're making their lives what they want to make. Like,
yeah.
Example, when I used to be a heavy set kid, I didn't go pray to God and say, hey, God, make the skin tomorrow. No. I got up, ran those laps. I got up, went to that gym. I got up, ate right. I did that. God didn't automatically, boom, snap his fingers, and now you're in shape. Now you got these abs and it's chill about. No. God didn't do that for me. I did that.
I just want to make sure it's known, like, you and I are totally on the same page with this, 100%. I am not religious in the slightest. Like, that's what I was talking about with the kingdom. Like, I'm a citizen of a kingdom that's not of this world, and I'm an ambassador for that kingdom while I'm here, and I'm going to outlive this flesh and be, you know, back in that kingdom at some point. I'm not religious at all. I'm just following my Father and, you know, the guide that he sent his son. And so, yeah, I would totally agree with you. Like, if I pray, like when I was super heavy, what I prayed for, because I did pray, is I prayed for the strength and the motivation and everything that I didn't have, that I couldn't muster up in myself because I tried so many times, you know, and I prayed for all of this stuff and I got it, you know, like, I didn't pray just for the fat to fall off, right? I don't pray for instant gratification, because I understand the nature of God. You know, I understood the nature of God, who God is, what he expects, and, you know, the person, his personality, the attributes of him. And then I learned, like, hey, I can't just pray and ask him to shed the pounds. He's going to laugh at me and say, get up out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning and go run a few laps.
Exactly. Exactly. Why I say, I mean, I hear a lot of people say the same thing. Life is literally what you make it. It's not about living it. Like, people make life so complex, so hard, so because they're making their lives hard. So therefore, life around them is hard. Like, when you around negative people, you're going to start thinking negative.
And people who start putting restraints on you, limitations, rules.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why one day, it's funny that you said that. My son one day came to me and said, Dad, I want to be outside playing. We have a bunch of my friends, and their kids around, just, you know, barbecuing, you know, for a regular weekend. And he ran to me and said, he's 5. He said, Dad, I want to be a tree. I said, well, go be a tree. Go be the best tree you can be. He ran outside. He ran to the yard where they playing there, and he started posing like he was a tree. I ran out there. I walked up there with him. I started posing like I was a tree. We started playing around. All the other kids started posing like they was a tree. I want to be a tree too. I want to be a tree too. So one of my friends said, "Why? Like that's stupid. Why you telling me you can be a tree?" I said, "Because right now he's 5. He has an unlimited amount of imagination. If I would have told him no, that's stupid. You can't be a tree. I would have started killing all his creative instinct and his whatever it is. I would have killed it right then and there.
So I got
it. So you can't be a tree. That's stupid. That's stupid. Now when he gets older,
Oh,
he has sense that he knows he can't be a tree.
I was going to say, what about when he's older? What if he's 18, 22, 25, and he's like, Dad, I want to be a tree, and starts going out in the lawn and standing and posing like a tree? What if he stays out there for a week or 8 days, 9 days, 10 days? Like, what are you going to do?
Hopefully he doesn't, but if he does, I will go and tell him, hey, no, you can't be a tree. You just are.
But what if that's his truth?
You can be. That's I was getting there. I said, now in this paradigm, you can't be a tree, but subconsciously, if you want to be a tree, then goddamn be a tree. That's your life. That's you made that decision to be there. Who am I to?
So you would teach your child that they can do subjectively what they wanted to do subjectively, but when it came to objective reality and existing in objective reality, that there is a certain dynamic and kind of set of rules and laws that guide that reality that they have to adhere to and conform to in order to go through that reality, right? You still there?
Now, if my son, if my son is adamant about being a tree, then I'm gonna stand by him 100%. That's his truth. That's what he is. And by all means, but you 23 years old and you still thinking you're a tree, my boy, then damn it, be a tree. I support you.
Even if he's standing in the yard, he's not eating any food, he's just like pouring Miracle Grow on himself, and like he's just out in the yard every day, 24/7.
That's his life. That's his life.
But you're not going to try to have any kind of discussion with him and try to bring some. I mean, I heard this joke one time. It's like, all civilizations can agree that putting a raw turkey on your head and running around is weird, right? I mean, we can all agree on certain things, right?
Yeah, and that's why I said earlier, I would sit down and talk to him and say, hey, you can't be a tree, but like if he's adamant about being a tree, then that's his life. That's what his truth is. And who am I to say that's stupid?
Yeah.
People kill other people's dreams and their reality because their reality and their dreams and their paradigm is weak, torn, and destroyed. So I can sit there and tell them, like, son, you can't be a tree realistically in this world if you want to survive and make money. Now, who am I to say that after a while he said that I'm still gonna be a tree? Who am I to say that 10 years down the line he started this whole tree movement, crazy thing that people say is crazy, and he starts a movement and makes $1 million. Hey, you never know. Reality is whatever you make outside of the norm. Like you said, the norm. Everybody, you can sit here and say, "Oh yeah, running around with a trick on your head is crazy." Yeah, I mean, yeah, if it's crazy, I guess, yeah. But me, I don't make these comfortable. And people, if I want to run outside with a trick on my head, I'm running outside with a trick on my head. You want to call me crazy? Call me crazy. I think.
Yeah, it's not about like you shouldn't do it. It's about like we can all agree that if you see somebody doing that, then they're gonna be on the fringe of society or of at least the civilization, right?
Yeah, and which is why I raised my son to don't live off society's view. View life the way you want to view it. Now, like I said, everybody is born with that feeling of knowing when something is right or wrong. You get a gut feeling when you know something's right or wrong. I'm gonna go kill this person. That's not right. I'm gonna go sleep with this person's with this man's wife. That's not right. Because you want nobody doing it to you. You don't want nobody killing you. You don't want nobody sleeping in the door while you sleep. No. So Yeah, live your life the way you see fit. People ask me, we have to discuss about that. What if your son turn out gay? If your son turn out gay, that's his life. If that's what he wants to be, or that's what he wants to do, that's what he's going to do. You know, y'all people trying to run around here and put limitations on their kids and on their friends and on people's way of thinking, when that's just the wrong thing. To me, that's just wrong. I would never put limitations on anybody.
Yeah, I feel what you say. So yeah, so now we arrive kind of back at the authority, like the issue of authority, right? So like you were saying, you are the final authority, but you don't have any actual authority over anybody else, is what you're saying. Like you don't claim any kind of authority over anybody else. Like you're only the authority of you, right?
Yeah.
And you don't really have any authority over you. So that's kind of that. I guess that's kind of a good kind of crossroads for us, because that's kind of where we would really diverge. Is, for me, I totally agree with you on the majority of what you said. Like, don't tell people what to do. You don't put limitations on people. But see, then when you inject an authority, right? We're talking about God. Like God, it claims ultimate authority as the King of Kings. He is, the ruler of rulers. He is going to, I was going to read what Psalm 110. He says, "Sit at my right hand till I make your enemies your footstool." Talking about Jesus. "The Lord shall send the rod of your strength out to Zion. Rule in the midst of your enemies. Your people shall be volunteers in the day of your power. In the beauties of holiness, from the womb of the morning, you have the dew of your youth. The Lord has sworn and will not relent. You are a priest forever, according to the order of Melchizedek. The Lord is at your right hand. He shall execute kings in the day of his wrath. He shall judge among the nations. He shall fill the places with dead bodies. He shall execute the heads of many countries. He shall drink of the brook by the wayside. Therefore he shall lift up the head." So basically what that's saying is God is the ultimate authority. He is the King of Kings, ruler of the world, and then he passed that authority on to Jesus, and now that authority, that is now what we have, right, as believers, not to use as ourselves, not to say I am telling you this, but to say God says, right, as ambassadors of his kingdom, we're supposed to tell people God says, like, this is what God says. He is the authority. And so it's not us putting limitations on people. What it's doing is saying, hey, this is what the almighty, all-powerful ruler and creator of everything says, right?
And I hear where you're coming from, and that's your truth. But for me, that's not my truth, because there's no limitations. There's no limitations nobody can put on me. No God, no deity. And that's why I say with the Bible, I still clear the Bible a lot. The Bible has contradictions. No man has seen the face of God. The Bible said no man has seen the face of God. Yet I can't remember who all. It was 2 or 3 different references, but one I know in particular.
Jacob.
I went. Yeah, he saw the face of the Lord, and like
the angel of the Lord.
And he called the place the Panal. And everybody knows that the pineal gland is where you go. They say it's the third eye, knowledge of stuff. That stuff I'm into as well too. Because
I would just real quick. I would just mention it says it doesn't say he wrestled with the Lord. It says he wrestled with the angel of the Lord. So the angel of the Lord, that's a created being. So it's kind of like Jesus, right? That's an earth, like a created body. That's not the actual face of God. That's not God in all of his spiritual glory.
Okay, well, I'm gonna reread those scriptures again, because I got all of it written down. I got all of it written down.
And if you want, like, if you're comfortable and open to it, I can send you some resources. This Discord is just full of all kinds of resources. I have a whole channel on here dedicated to Bible, like supposed contradictions and stuff. So if you want, I can send you stuff. You can check some of that stuff out too.
Oh yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, like I said, for me, man, it's just I don't really. I just cannot to being limited. And I know I'm not. I know I can do anything that I want to do. Now I know I can't jump from bridge and fly, but I can go in the airplane and fly.
So real quick, if you don't mind me asking, what's your vision? Like, what's your future? What are you doing? What are you gonna do with your life? What is your purpose?
My purpose that I created Depth, spread knowledge, and let people know that you can do whatever you want to do. Whatever you decide to do in your life, do. Don't you put limitations on what you can and can't do, and don't you allow nobody to put limitations on what you can and can't do.
So what you're saying is that your whole purpose is to make that universal claim that you can't actually justify.
Which is what?
That to tell people what the purpose of their life is.
I'm not telling people the purpose of life, but the purpose of you find your own purpose of life. There's no set destiny. There's no set. There's no. I don't believe that there's a set destiny that you have to have, because that's the case I'd have been dead already. In that case, I'd have been the 3 times I committed suicide. I'd have been dead already. If I'm so comfortable with death.
Well,
So, and that's why I say you make everything that you want to do. Don't sit here and try to and limit yourself to one thing or one view or one thought process. Allow yourself to be open-minded. Open your mind to any and everything. You know, and like I said, it's not. People try to make it so complex and so much more than what it is, but it's just so simple. You do what you see fit. If you want to go out here and kill 1,000 people, go kill 1,000 people. But just know there's consequences. You kill 1,000, you're going to get killed too. You're going to die too. If you want to go out here and be a millionaire, put yourself in a millionaire mindset. Put yourself around people with business mindsets or people who want to be millionaires too. If you want to do whatever you want to do, go and do. You are your own. You're your own limitation. You are, not nobody else.
now see right there, that's a truth claim, right? So do you believe that to be true? What you just said?
Yes, yes, and I'm gonna tell you how. I want to make money, right? The people I was hanging around with, they cannot make money. The people I'm around with now, we're making money now. I got myself out of that situation with those people who didn't have the mindset to make money, to make honest money. I got myself away from them and put myself around people who are making money, and now I'm making money. I took myself out of that situation. I sat down and said, you know what, these people it's not right. I don't want to. They not. I'm over here talking to them about stocks and making money and starting businesses. Then we're talking about girls, weed, going out partying and drinking. I removed myself from them and put myself around people that thought the same way I thought, that want to make money. And guess what I'm doing? I'm making money.
Right.
By this time next year, we're going to have. By
So-
this time next year, I would not be working for nobody else. We're going to have our own business.
So that works for you, right? But like, so say if somebody else does that and puts themselves around other people that want to make money and then they don't make money, can they fall back on you? Will you take the blame for them not making money if they don't make money by hanging?
Their life. Okay, see,
So you have no authority. So there's no authority. Like you won't take any blame if that doesn't happen.
No, I'm not to blame for that, because you made that choice to go do that. It's like you said, free will. God gives you, quote unquote, God gives you free will, right? You have the free will to go and do that. And if it doesn't work, if that dish doesn't work,
But you persuaded them to do that, so you don't have any kind of like, for you persuading them to do that. There's nothing like, you don't have any what do you call it, accountability in that at all.
okay, so let me ask you this question. If you go and tell somebody to go follow the Bible, and they go and follow the Bible, and it like doesn't go right for them, are you accountable for that?
Nope, because God is the ultimate authority. I'm pointing them to God.
Exactly. So no. But that person who's going to you, so that person comes to you and curse you out and tell you where your God and your Bible didn't work for me and blah blah. So now I blame you. Now you're going to sit there and say, oh, well, I'm sorry, but it worked for me. It worked for me. What I'm simply telling, and that's why I tell people, stop overthinking. When you take big, and this is why I got on philosophy myself, because philosophers tend to, a lot of them tend to hold down. They tend to hold weight to every little aspect of a quote. They tend to grasp that quote and won't let it go. You have to learn to let things be as simple as it is. If you want to do this, go do it. If it doesn't work for you, find out what does work for you. Just because something does, just because my way. Now, if you go out and surround yourself with people who making money and you don't make money the way they're making money, figure out the way you can make money for you, the way you want to make money, but still be around those people because they can still guide you and help you. Your way, my road, it's like we said earlier, it doesn't matter how you get there as long as you get there. My road may not help you get there the way how quick you wanted to get there, but it still might help you get there. hey man, Joe, when you gave me the keys to success and I followed it. It took me a minute, man, but man, I seen you did it in 3 years. It took me 5 years. You got there, right? Yeah, I got there. All right. That's all that matters. Don't overcomplicate. When you fall short, don't. People problem is they fall and they stay there and they want to blame people. They want to say, hey, well, you said do this, do that. Yeah, I did. Did you do it? I mean, I did it like this, and then I jumped this loop and did like that. Okay, well, now you have to keep going through it because you didn't listen, or just because it didn't work for you that way, you still have to find out the way it works for you. You made $10,000 and I only made $5,000. All right, well, continue doing it. Continue, keep going. People want to stop and want to overcomplicate things. There's no reason. Life is not complicated. It's really not.
So then,
sit back and look at it. Huh?
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say. So then, yeah, like I like that like financial example, but so let's shift it to like salvation, right? Like eternal life, like actually living beyond here. Because I mean, it doesn't sound like you want to, but there are a lot of people that actually like don't want to actually fully die. Like they want to experience the pleasures and the glory of this world, not, you know, their internal pleasures, but the pleasures of the world, the beauty, the, you know, like plucking a ripe apple and tasting it, things like that, right? There are people that want to experience that forever, and there is a promise that brings authority with that promise that says, I've never let you down, I never will let you down. And so basically you're telling people like that's, you know, don't go that way, right?
No, I'm not saying don't go that way. I'm saying live life, bro. Live life. Simple as that. Just live life. Stop worrying about what could be and what if and this, that, and stop complicating life. Stop doing all that stuff. Deals. You only have one life. You only have one life. Live it. Do what the hell you like. I said, do whatever you want to do. Like I said, you want to go out and jump off a building and act like you can fly. By all means, that's what you want. You as a person, your free will is telling you to do. Hey, I don't give a damn. I'm gonna tell you, you're not gonna fly.
Do you know who Aleister Crowley is or was?
Yeah, yes, I love.
Do as thou will shall be the whole of the law.
Yes, Aleister Crowley was a smart man. People didn't like him because he was. Yeah, he was.
You know what he did? What he was into?
Yeah, he was into homosexuality, witchcraft, and all that stuff.
Well, he was a chaos and blood Satanist, like dark magic ritual performing Satanist, and he tried to actually like bring like summon demons and like summon Satan himself, right? Like he secluded himself for almost 6 months and like ended up like almost committing suicide because he was trying to summon Satan himself into his physical body.
Also, people don't look at the Aleister Crowley did a lot of stuff outside of that. And they say he was an informant for the CIA, the FBI, and all that stuff too. And all of that. Yeah, I mean, I know exactly what Aleister Crowley did, but I love Aleister Crowley because he's a free thinker. He did not give a damn. That's why I love Aleister Crowley.
Yeah.
I've ordered some of his books and all this stuff already. I'm waiting for him to come in. But I love Aleister Crowley. I love him. I thought like a lot of people should experience Aleister Crowley. Like, read it. Because
that's why I was asking, because it sounded like a lot of what you're saying kind of follows Aleister Crowley is kind of like the go against the norm kind of ideal.
Yeah, the norm, going against the norm is the best thing in the world, because now I don't conform to what society says is right or wrong. You shouldn't think that way. You should only think that, you know, this way is the right. No. Who says you're raised the right way? Who says that?
So are you familiar then with the difference between a hedonist and a moralist? Oh, sorry, you're roboting. Sorry, what was that?
I'm going to tell nobody my right way. I'm going to tell you, do what the hell you want to between what?
Sorry, you're roboting there.
There you go. Say it again.
Can you hear me now?
Can you?
Oh, you're roboting.
Are you hear me?
Oh, you're like breaking up, kind of.
I think it's the area I'm in, actually.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah, it could have been like a weak signal.
Yeah, it's the area I'm in right now. But you said I don't give the difference between what But
Oh, I'm sorry, I lost you. The difference between what?
this area, I have LTE, but there's no service here. No, I was asking what did you say? What's the difference between what and what?
Oh, shoot. What was I saying? Oh
my God, is aesthetic messing up. Let me put it up here. Can you hear me?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can.
I think it's the area I'm in. I'm at a light in a weak spot over here.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
That's probably, it could be Discord too. Discord is finicky, whatever. You have to sometimes you have to bounce out and come back in. But it sounds good now. Alright.
I hear you perfectly now.
Okay. So we were talking, what was it saying, Aleister Crowley, and you were saying you would only tell people just do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's it's ironic because that's exactly the antithetical message of the Bible and of God, right? God says, don't do what you want to do because your desires are wicked and unrighteous. Do what I tell you to do, and then you'll be blessed, right?
So what's the point of free will then? If that's the case, what's the point of free will?
Well, I would challenge you back and ask you, what's the point of pleasing yourself?
Makes you happy.
Does it though?
When I say do what you want to do, I'm not saying go out here and act stupid and do crazy shit. When I say
what if that's what I want to do?
Do whatever you want. Yeah, do what you want. Okay, but then again, God created evil, quote unquote. God created good and evil, so there's that balance. You're in that balance.
Well, he didn't create evil. He created good. Evil is the opposite of good. Right? It's like matter and antimatter. Antimatter isn't the opposite of matter, right?
But for one to exist, the other had to exist, right?
Right. It's like a void.
So when God created good, he also created evil.
No, that's he didn't create evil. Evil is a necessary product of having good, right?
But in subconsciously and in essence, and all just essence, and then I'll break when it's not about simply when God created good, he created evil. I say that because, example, I go and cook some good food one day. Oh, this is good. When I say it's good, I also created bad because I know I made something that was bad one day too, and it was bad. It tasted bad.
But it wasn't objectively bad. I mean, somebody else might have thought it tasted good, right? Somebody else could have thought it tasted good.
That's true too. But also, when you create good, you also create bad. When you create bad, you also create. It's like you said, it's a byproduct of itself. It's just a byproduct of itself.
So what if I just cook, if I cook 1,000 meals and all of them are good? Is that possible?
No, it's not possible. Because you're going to create something that's bad. You can't create everything that's good. Because you have to create something that's bad. Not willingly. And it goes to what you said. You create all the food that was good. Somebody thinks it's bad. That's that balance. Somebody thinks it's bad. Not everybody gonna think it's good.
Let's see.
Everybody thinks Gordon Ramsay is the best cook. I don't think he is.
I would say, but
it's a balance.
God by definition though would be perfect. So I mean, what you're doing is kind of attributing human characteristics to God, because God by definition would have to be greater than that, right?
But God is only a man-made concept of everything, and also if that's the case, God isn't perfect because God repented of himself. That's not perfect. That's not perfection. That's
no. You can still be perfect and regret doing something.
No.
Why not?
Then that's not.
So now you're making a claim, so you believe that to be true. So what's your evidence?
But people, okay, nobody's perfect, right?
Right. Nobody. But again, God as the creator of people would be outside of people, right? So you can't use using the example of nobody is perfect. That would be a logical fallacy, because God, you can't apply that to God because he is by definition outside of humanity.
if God is outside of humanity, why did he repent? Because only humanity repent. God doesn't repent because he's all perfect, he's all powerful, he's all knowing, omnipresent, omnipotent.
Because he has feelings. He was sad. If you saw your kid, like go completely against what you raised him to do and start like murdering people and doing all these horrible things and having children and teaching them to do that, wouldn't you feel bad? Like you wouldn't regret having those children. You wouldn't like go back in time and not have your child, but you would still feel bad. You would feel terrible that your child is doing these things, right?
But I never came to be perfect. But all the Bible people and all the Christians and all the Bible people, the Christians, the people calling God perfect, they say God is all perfect, God is all knowing, He is perfect, He is without sin, He is without fault. But God sent that angel to destroy Jerusalem, and He looked back and saw the destruction. He repented of Himself. That right there is not a perfect being. That is not a perfect being.
But that's you saying that. That's you saying that's not a perfect being. But again, you would have to show where being sorry and being, sad means that you're not perfect. So you're the one claiming that. So what's your justification for saying that being sad means you're not perfect?
So what's perfect? Because when you're perfect, you feel nothing.
I would tell you, so real quick, the definition that I use for God is the extremely powerful, uncaused, necessarily existing, non-contingent, immaterial, non-physical, eternal being who created the entire universe and everything in it.
Perfection. He's perfect, but he's not. But I mean, like I said, but that's neither here nor there. That's neither here nor there. For me, like I said, for me, man, it's just the fact that when I say live life, and that's what I tell everybody, and people agree, live life, man. Don't be bound by anything or anybody. Like I said, and everybody wants it to be so complex and so they try to make it strong and everything, and it's not. It's so simple. Life is simple, and that's live, have fun, enjoy it.
So
what makes you happy?
Let me ask you a question. Oh, sorry.
No.
I was just going to ask you, do you know what it means to be perfect?
No, because I'm not perfect. I don't want to be perfect.
But you just said that God isn't perfect. So in order to say that somebody or something isn't perfect, you would have to know what perfection is. Don't you agree? I would agree you know what imperfection is, but you don't know what perfection is, right?
I like that you did that, but when I say perfection, I simply said that that's what all Christians and Bible people say, that God is perfect. I didn't say He was.
So what is your definition of perfect?
I don't have a definition of perfect because I'm not perfect. I don't care to be perfect. Being perfect is not in my mindset. But I'm saying when people say God is perfect, that's what these Christians and Bible people say. That's all I heard from Christians and Bible people, that God is perfect. So when I made that statement, I also said that that's what they say, not that's what I believe or say.
Yeah, but you're making the claim that God is not perfect, right?
He's not. If that's the case,
so in order to say He's not perfect, you would have to know what perfection is, because you would have to have some standard to say that He's not measuring up to, and then you would have to give evidence of how He's not perfect, right?
And that's why I said right there. And you're doing exactly what Bible people and Christian people do. You're trying to manipulate it. When I simply said, people who study the Bible, people who are in Christianity, they say God is all perfect, God is all knowing. So when I said that, I simply backed up what they say. I didn't say what I said it was. I simply said what they said it was. So I don't claim God, the Bible, or any of that stuff, because it's not of me. So when I said that, I simply said that that's what these people say.
Well, you said that God repented, so He can't be perfect.
In the eyes of the people who say God is all perfect. In the Bible, God repented of Himself. So
well, I'm saying that God is perfect and repentant.
And that's fine. That's your truth. That's what you believe, and that's okay. And I don't hold no type of ill feeling or ill way of thinking towards anybody that's the other way, because I know what my truth is. What your truth is that's true. That's fine. I understand it. I'm not trying to convert you or convert anybody else. Just live life, man. Have fun.
Yeah.
But hey, I gotta get ready for the gym. I'm at the house. I gotta get ready for the gym and stuff. So it was nice talking to you, man.
Yeah, for sure. You too. I really appreciate you, man. And real quick, I just wanted to make sure that, like, I know we got, into some really personal stuff and everything. Are you okay if I post this or no? Because I don't, I don't need to post it or anything. Okay, cool. All right, man. Hey, I appreciate you.
I don't know.
And if you ever want to talk again, hit me up. Feel free,
I don't know.
All right. Appreciate you. Later.